Welcome to Beyond Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Petralis, and we are super excited for today's guest. I've had the privilege and honor of honestly covering this guest through the Mass Pirates now over the last couple of months, and we'll get to that in a minute. But this is a standout, collegiate football player as well as professional arena football player. And I'm just going to kind of read some of the stats here to kind of back that up. But today's guest was a former player at Oklahoma State. And again, I could be wrong with some of these numbers a little bit, so hopefully he stat checks me where he needs to. But you tallied 148 tackles in 46 games at Oklahoma State, finished with 100 solo stops, 11 and a half sacks, 23 tackles for loss, and 13 quarterback hurries. You were twice all Big 12 honorable mention. And it was something we'll talk about that I did a little research on. Two huge sacks in your career against Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. So we'll talk a little bit about that and some stuff I found about that. But kind of cool. We mentioned you honorable mention 2018 and 2020. But two other cool things as well. 2017, the Barry Sanders Award for the greatest contribution to the team with the least recognition, which I would love to talk about later, as well as 2020, to me, the most impressive stat here, first team academic all Big 12. So obviously he does it on the field, but also does it in the classroom. So without further ado, Mass Pirate defensive standout, Calvin Bundage.
Hey, what's going on, man? Happy to be on. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man, we're honored to have you on. As I said, we've been covering you the last couple of months, and yeah, to see you kind of perform on the field and do my homework on you a little bit now is pretty cool to have you on here, someone of your caliber. So, I mentioned your career at Oklahoma State, and I just kind of want to start. We're a high school and sports podcast. We have a lot of high school and college athletes. We do have a lot of kids who give us great feedback about some of the guests that we have on, as far as when they talk about their decision making and so on. So I saw when I did my homework on you that you're an Oklahoma boy. So I'm sure we're kind of choosing around schools around the area for you, but specifically talk about maybe your experience just a little bit as far as, recruitment goes, schools being interested in you and you finding the right fit for you.
Man, I had my mind set up that I was going to go far. I was going to go to Oregon, Notre Dame, Arizona State. I was going to go somewhere far, and I liked a lot of those schools. And I actually just made my decision the day of signing day. And just with talking with my coach and how I was getting recruited at the time and the position I was going to be playing was a big part of me making my decision. I ended up going to Oklahoma State because kind of I'm kind of a natural underdog. I didn't want to go to OU because all the top recruits from Oklahoma go to OU, so I want to do something different. Um, but yeah, I chose Oklahoma State. In the position they had me playing was star linebacker. I feel like it was perfect for me. That position don't even exist anymore, but
I was gonna say, is that a hybrid? Because I saw in high school you were like a strong safety. So I mean, obviously you put on weight when you went to school for that position, but was that kind of like a hybrid position in some sense?
exactly. It was a hybrid linebacker mixed with safety, and that's really what I am, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, and I saw that. So that's really interesting because statistically, we'll kind of jump into it here. And what I kind of found is, when I try to have guests on, I try to connect numbers here, connect stats that I found. So for me, I saw a sign for you the other day that was kind of funny, but I thought it was really just like dead accurate. It said something like a TFL tackle for loss machine, Calvin Bundage or number 19. And I thought that was a really cool sign. So I started doing my homework on you, and we'll jump around a little bit in your collegiate career because I'm just interested in certain things. But I noticed two huge stats to me are like NFL stats, like where you grow is tackle for losses as well as sacks. So in 2016, ranging to 2020, 2016, you had one tackle for loss. 2017, you had 5.5 tackles for loss. 2018, you had 8 tackles for loss. You were injured all of 2019, which we'll talk about, but in 2020, you had 8.5. So in that area, you grew so much in that position of that you're like kind of saying it doesn't really exist anymore. I mean, that's an important, like as a defensive coordinator and at a high school level, not even at collegiate level, to have somebody who is just constantly in the backfields. And I'm not even mentioning QB hurries or pressures in the backfield that maybe disrupted plays that go other ways and guys make tackles, but you're not on the stat sheet for that because you just disrupted the play. But whoever makes a tackle really looks like the hero there. But you became so much more disruptive. So what changed in your game a little bit, or what changed about you that you started just really understanding?
It was more reps. Anytime you see my numbers bump up, that's because I'm on the field.
Mhm.
So Yeah,
Okay.
that was pretty much that's what it was, honestly.
Yeah, and then I look at your sacks and I kind of see the same thing. And I look at 2018, and 2018 is kind of interested because I found other stats, but like 2016, 0 sacks, 2017, 3 sacks, 2018, 1.5, maybe a drop, but a lot more pressures in the backfield looking up you statistically. And then obviously in 2020, along with the 8.5 tackles for loss, you also had 7 sacks. So again, looking at yourself, repetition seems to be the most important thing that you're kind of saying getting on the field. I noticed that you take care of yourself well off the field, following you on Instagram. Collegiately, was it kind of like the same thing as far as what you ate, working out, so on and so forth? I mean, do you attest that to kind of some of the growth you had as well?
Absolutely. My brother put me on. I feel like I've been a professional for a long time now. I probably started being a true professional like junior in high school, where I started to really be in tune what I put into my body and how I'm working out and how it's going to affect me on the field. So I've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah, and I can see it like like I said, following you on social media and just kind of seeing like from meal prepping to kind of just how you prep throughout the day, and even like your kind of pregame stuff following you around a couple weeks ago, you definitely seem like you're a person of routine and a person that kind of just like builds off of that. So, it's great to see that you kind of have that in you. Now, collegiately, you're having, your first couple years, you had great years, or your first 3 years, you had great years. I noticed that you were out for the season in 2019, serious back injury. And some of the stuff that I was reading, it seemed like there were a lot of doctors that were not necessarily interested in kind of maybe taking on a procedure to kind of fix you a little bit. So just want to ask you a little bit more about that. And obviously a serious injury that from what I read was almost kind of career ending for you.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's how it presented to me as well. It was pretty serious career injury, but once I got into it, it was actually pretty mild. I just had a small chunk of my herniated disc taken out,
Okay.
and that's all they did. So they just took out what was on the nerve and sewed me back up. And it's kind of back surgery is always feared upon, but being in like the NFL, you see all these guys, they have a lot of herniated discs and they get surgery, and it's just a part of football. Not all guys come back from, I will say that, but if you have a good doctor, then it should be no problem for sure.
Yeah, I mean, so did you have like a hard time finding a doctor? I mean, it seemed like from what I was reading, a lot of people were kind of skeptical of taking it on.
So what I did was I went 6 months of just physical therapy, trying not to have surgery.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going with the Dallas Cowboys back surgeon, Dr. Doucette, who was a great doctor. Um, and he did a great job, but I tried to correct it on my own at first. And then once I knew I couldn't do it, that's when I tried to find the best doctor
You
I could.
seem like that dude, like who would just like pick up his arm off the field and like be like stitch it, tape it back on, like I'm ready to go. I mean, is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's exactly who I am, man. I'm trying
Yeah.
to get it. I don't want to stop playing.
I mean, I see that in you. I mean, I see that in you in playing now and just kind of hearing you talking and all about that. Um, I mean, for you kind of winning some of these accolades too, I mean, you don't seem like most athletes that I talk to, they don't like necessarily talking about individual accolades. But the one that I would like to talk about, just being a teacher myself, is the 2021 that you won, which was first team all academic for the Big 12. I mean, what do you take up in school? What did you graduate a degree in, or what do you have?
I ended up getting a degree in general studies.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was basically it just took a lot of papers, a lot of random classes for me to get it, but it was a lot of hard work, a lot of late nights in the AC for sure. And
Now, were you aware that you could have won some award like that? Or is that, I mean, how does that kind of work? I mean, even when you were kind of, honorable mention and other things, like is that kind of just briefly mentioned to you? Or did you have like an idea that you could win something like this?
I had no idea until I won it.
Oh, really? Okay. So it's even kind of better. Like that's real cool. Now talk about you in the process. Obviously, you had a great collegiate career. You played in a very difficult conference, a top 5 conference that sends constant NFL players, through the draft. every single year. I mean, you had a serious back injury and you came back and you threw what looked like even better numbers. But I felt like you, from what I read, you were used a lot differently too. So, do you feel like your game has changed post injury leading up to like kind of what you were thinking in your next career?
Nah, I mean, man, I just had to do what I had to do to stay on the field. My senior year, my relationship with my head coach and the defensive coordinator went sour, and so I'm blessed. I have the ability to pass rush because if I wasn't pass rush and it wasn't a commodity that people needed, I
Yeah.
wouldn't have been on the field at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I went from starting from 3 years to probably not even getting 100 snaps my senior year.
Yeah,
So
and it's I mean, that's interesting in itself, and obviously seeing your reps drop, but like you kind of mentioned at the beginning, like more and more reps you get, the just kind of things become a little bit easier. But still, statistically, you throw up a career high in sacks, and like you said, in this league, anybody you can get to the pass rusher. It doesn't matter where you're playing or whatever. Like that's what's needed. Athletic guys can get to the pass rusher quick. So obviously, your skill set. Now, as you're preparing your collegiate kind of year ends, what does that process tip like I love watching the NFL network and seeing all the college scouting that's going on and listening, to the quote unquote experts, but what does that look like for you when your season ends as far as okay, like obviously NFL dreams, NFL ambitions, you must be talking to people age like how does that all just kind of work? I'm just so curious.
uh you talking about like right now? So
No, meaning like when you're at school, when you were graduating and you were kind of looking to maybe take that next step, like what did that process kind of look like for you?
okay, so after the season, it was right into pro day. Yeah, pro day training. And so I
Yeah.
flew went out to Colorado and I was doing that. And then this is right after the season. And then train for that, then go to pro day. And then you go into rookie mini camp. And
Yeah.
you go into training camp. So it's honestly tough because it's no break. You went from going some playing some hard football straight into training to get faster and stronger. And then you go into rookie mini camp, training camp in the preseason. So it's really kind of stressful on the body, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And obviously the process for you, like I think I saw you tag along with the Steelers. You kind of got undrafted with the Steelers. Is that correct? And who you were
Yeah,
with?
yeah.
What was cool about just kind of being with them and maybe that staff? I mean, I love Coach Tomlin and the Patriots and Steelers over the years have had many great battles. Being a guy from around here, and I love Coach Tomlin. I love Pittsburgh as much as they're a rival. You respect them, and yeah, just curious. Anything you wanted to talk about that at all, or let people know?
Yeah. It was a great learning experience. I feel like Mike Tomlin, I think he definitely was a fan of my game. I think he definitely liked my game. I think it was just in the NFL, or at least how that organization was ran, the coaches, they're just teachers. So they're not really decision makers. I remember one time walking past a room and it was cuts going on and it was just scouts and the owners. And there was no coaches in the room. And
That's
I'm like, where the
crazy, dude.
where the coaches at? So it's 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 politics into it, and it's basically just eh, who you know, who
Right. I
can
mean,
get you in
it's
there.
truly a business. Like when people say
Yeah,
it's business, it's business. I mean, that what you just said is like business. Like that
yeah.
is it's wild. Um and obviously now you go from there and kind of what I've seen just I think you jumped on in 2023 with the Mass Pirates like into their season if I'm correct, right? Or towards the beginning of their season, middle of their season in 2023?
Yeah, it was the beginning. After
Okay.
waiting for a long time, I was, you know, supposed to be getting picked up by these XFL, USFL. I was getting a call every week. We about to pick you up, man.
Yeah.
I did that for 6 months, maybe even longer. I said I should have came out and messed with Jawad. He was hitting me as soon as I got cut from the Steelers. I should have been playing, but uh, everything is working out pretty how it's
How
supposed
was
to.
that mentally for you? Like to kind of hear that week after week, like, okay, that phone's about to ring, that phone's about to ring, and then it just kind of doesn't.
Whew, that was tough.
Yeah.
That was a tough part of my life right there because Now, obviously, I have a different perspective on it, but at the time, I'm thinking like, "Am I done? Am I done playing?
Yeah.
Gonna get another opportunity?" And then, I was just trying to figure out how to, provide for myself and still maintain money and things like that while chasing the dream. It was a stressful part of my life for sure.
No, I'm sure. And that's like sometimes what people like don't understand. I mean, obviously there's the underdog stories, but with those underdog stories comes trials and tribulations and difficulties that you don't get to often talk about, or people don't understand that kind of come with that journey because most people get to see the good or get to see the finish line. So you mentioned Jawad. I mean, Jawad's a cool dude, man. Like I'm not like I've been around a lot of professional teams, but someone who's very active as a GM on the sideline in the locker room with his players. Seems to constantly be making, moves when he has to and making great moves for the team and knows his talent. I mean, someone like you who I've seen play and the ability you have and the game changing ability you have for him to just be on that quick to call you, that's impressive. That's impressive GM. Um, do you agree with that? I mean, obviously, it's not like, yeah, you can or can't say that, but like, he seems like he knows what he's doing, like for real.
Absolutely. When it comes to recruitment and bringing in talent, Jawad is the best I've ever been around. I don't know how he found me. I don't know how he found a lot of these guys, but he does it. He can bring anybody in. He can get anybody in. So recruitment and knowing what he's doing to pick what he wants, he's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, and I think he's real cool, dude. Like just in general. Um, Did you like now obviously like you're mentioning your collegiate game and I'm seeing you play live. I mean, your position is literally rushing, whether that's at the snap or delaying at the snap, or you're kind of dropping in the coverage. So was that something similar to this like hybrid position you were somewhat playing at OSU, would you say? And I mean, your numbers are like so identical. I mean, we'll go over them in the Pirates a little bit in a lot of senses, but just kind of very consistent with the type of player that you are.
It's definitely consistent with the type of player I am. This type of game, I'm naturally quick, so it's working to my advantage. And honestly, this game is developing me so much and turning me into um a true linebacker, having to be vocal, having to know what everybody's doing around me. And it's giving me the reps so I can really sharpen my knife. And so yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting too, do you feel like it helps you in coverage, especially when you're dropping into like zone coverage, like quicker pockets or quicker windows that you can like extend your arms or get your hands up or kind of jump a route? I mean, do you feel like it's improving that game? Because I mean, again, I'm going from a high school level, but coaching pockets of like cover three and cover two or zone coverage is like sometimes you miss by a step or a half a step, and that's the difference between you batting it down, intercepting it, or the guy taking it to the house. Like, do you feel like it's improved your game in that sense?
Absolutely. It's proved my game. So it's teaching me how to really cover the man instead of covering space.
Mm.
And so it taught me how to understand the zones, decision making. You got to make decisions super fast. Protecting the curl, I have to do a lot. Because they'll set up wherever you're not and just catch a ball in the zone. So it has made me a lot better with zone coverage playing in this league for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I only say all that stuff just because, again, like following you around with the camera a little bit, I had a lot of video of you dropping in zone or sitting in zone or picking up guys that are coming across and so on and so forth. Um, Interesting. And so here I'm gonna throw your Mass Pirates numbers now. Now defensively, I think you guys are. I mean, again, this is coming from an average Joe, right? But I feel like you guys are pretty fast in the field. Looking at like some of the competitors that you guys have played against, there's not too many defenses. Though last week's defense I thought played your offense pretty well. There's not too many defenses that I've seen you guys play live that I thought were better than you guys. So then I started looking at numbers statistically, and I could be wrong here. I'm just kind of putting it together. But these are the Mass Pirates 2024 statistics. Again, it seems like it's updated because I did find it on the IFL website. But points against, and you might be aware of these numbers or not, I'm not sure. Points against 36.8. You guys rank second in the league. Yards against 186.4 first. Rushing yards against 61.9 fourth. Passing yards against 124.6 third. Sacks tied for fourth at 10. Opponent's first down defense against them, you're in first. Opponent's third down conversions, you guys are third in the league. Opponent's fourth down conversions, you're third in the league. Where I'll throw a, I guess I could throw something bad out there or something that maybe you guys are aware of or not. Interception in the league, you guys are tied for six, which isn't a bad thing. It's very good, I think. But forced fumbles, you guys are dead last in the league, which I found really, really interesting. I don't know if any of those statistics you're aware of, but defensively, you guys are pretty good. I mean, you guys are really good. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, I think so. I think I think we're really good on paper, but now we starting to actually become a good defense. And so we've made those stats and we just getting started. And so that lets you know how much talent we have.
Are you, I mean, you guys, were you aware of that stuff that's statistically a little bit about you guys?
Nah, we all felt like we've been playing bad.
Okay, well, listen, I will gladly send those stats over to you guys doing my homework. Again, I could be a little inaccurate, um but the forced fumbles, is that something your defensive coaches talk about being a coordinator? Because I used to rip into us about how we don't cause turnovers, or there's just like, is that something that you guys are aware of as a defensive team?
Absolutely. I think, yeah, it's something we're aware of. I think the fumbles in this league come from you know, after a wide receiver catch a ball, you know what I'm saying, getting those things,
That
getting
pursuit to the football by the second and third guy.
and we've been struggling with that, you know, down the field, and so I think that's something we need to work on as a defense for sure. But I think that's where the from honestly.
Yeah, and I feel like defensively, you guys are really tough too. And I don't know there's a statistic for it, but just how you guys are inside your 10-yard line, teams might score, but they're not like walking into the end zone. Like it's like third down, fourth down consistently. So I think that speaks, volumes at least to maybe defensively how you guys kind of play, at least from what I'm observing, anyways. Um, but those defensive stats, let's then jump into yours because I did try to look this up like in the league. I don't think there's just like much out there, but you probably are aware. So this is only through 8 games. Again, this is not the game I covered Saturday, which I know you had a zillion tackles, including a huge sack towards the end of the game. That was a highlight reel sack once again. But tackles, you're first on the team with 56. That's 43 solo, 13 assisted. Tackles for loss, you have 9 right now. You're first on the team. But I will shout out two other guys in your defense. Thomas Guy, who has 8 tackles for losses. Julius Turner has 5.5. And together, you three have 8.5 out of your 10-team sacks. So I just want to give those guys a little love on defense, too. And sacks, you're 4.5, which is first on the team. So your strength in college, your strength in your game continues to be your strength in this league. Where are you just having so much success? Where have you kind of maybe grown from when you first walked into arena playing to where your game is at right now?
I think I've learned how to translate my off seasons and to making them make me productive on the field. And so I think that's a big step into it. I think and like I said, just me developing, getting all these reps from playing in this game, I'm truly developing into a great linebacker. And I feel that every game, a linebacker should have TFLs and sacks. I mean, picks are, few and far between.
Right.
Some guys is get the ball out more than others. But in arena things happen so fast that when I'm coming in, I'm coming in for the tackle. If I do get an opportunity to pull out a ball, to rip out a ball, I will. But it's happened so fast, and I mean, in the right situation. But honestly, I seen a couple guys break their wrist and break their hand, punching and ripping at the ball. Um, so it has to be the right situation for me. But yeah, I think the base, great game for linebackers, TFLs, and sacks. You should get those every time you play for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like again, just kind of watching you from the film that I had, anyways, it's just like it seems like you just take great angles. Like you get a good jump start on plays and get ahead of linemen that are trying to come down on you, or forcing cutbacks inside by taking great angles. So it seems like that you kind of read things from jump pretty well too. which I notice like you're blitzing. Sometimes it's like go right at the snap, but sometimes it is that like 1 second delay, and then you maybe kind of delaying and taking off, and you're fast enough to do that. But it also gives you an opportunity to kind of maybe read and redirect a little bit, which is yeah, things that I've kind of just noticed in your game a little bit. I gave those guys a shout out. I think Thomas Guy's only played like in 6 games, and Julius Turner seems like besides you, I feel like it's either you or him when there needs to be a play made on defense, or there needs to be like a tackle for loss, or someone just a play just to knock a team a little further back in field goal range, and just making that a difference between 3 points that are automatic versus maybe 3 points that are a little bit more difficult. I mean, would you agree with those two guys that I said that I looked up statistically? Those guys kind of are players like you as well.
Absolutely. It's definitely a trio coming to a part. Those guys are so skillful. Gladiators through and through. Um, but yeah, the angles, you did mention that the angles, I think that's the biggest thing I had to change and learn because the angles are so much different here. But once I learned the angles of the game, it's like you don't have to be fast, but you have to play the game fast. And
Right.
so, and you have to have the correct angles to be successful in this league. And so, once I picked up that, I think that took me to the next level for sure.
Yeah, I think that's football fast, right? Like that's football fast is so much different because fast north and south is great, but like football is just not a north and south game. Like, so
Yeah.
being football fast is just like different fast. So I totally know what you mean when you say that. Um, w- I gave you all these accolades, all these great things. What is right now you would say a weakest part of your game that you feel like you kind of need to continue to work on, or an area that you feel like you want to be better at?
Um, I just want to keep building on some picks.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want some
Yeah.
picks, man. I want some turnovers. And
Yeah.
so, like you said, poking the ball out, starting to bait. I know what I'm doing in zone now, and so now I can start baiting guys. And so I think I'm gonna start getting into that bag. I think that's where I need to work at right now. Get some picks, some turnovers for sure.
I now how is that something you work on outside of football, like outside of practice? Like, are you doing anything as far as footwork or anything in training that kind of translates to maybe that exact thing?
Absolutely. I stay on the jump rope, but honestly, when it comes to picks, I think that's straight mental. It has a little bit to do with film, but I mean, it has a little bit to do with physical, but I think that's film room.
Yeah.
Just knowing what's about to happen, baiting the quarterbacks, and being in the right position. I think that's straight film room, man.
Well, film study, let's talk about that because I kind of had that on bullet point things I wanted to little ask you about. I mean, what kind of film? I mean, when I was a coach, man, I was like a film junkie. Like I would watch film any free minute that I had to watch and understand and see what teams did and try to find tendencies. For a guy like you, kind of you have a game on Saturday. What's maybe your routine a little bit as far as, opponent game film coming in, previous game film from what you've done, to kind of maybe fix your game a little bit or see where you maybe need to work on things.
So I go about it an hour in the morning and an hour at night, and I watch every game. I go
Yeah.
from the most recent all the way down, and the ones I like and I think they're going to do how they're going to attack us by the film we have. Those are the games I rewatch over, and I try to pick up on those tendencies. Um, but yeah, that's the way I go about it. I try to think how they're going to play us, and so that's the film I like to watch and really key up on.
I mean, what I find so interesting about the game, and I'm sure it took you a little bit to adjust to, but it doesn't seem like it's as difficult as I would think it was. But like guys motioning or being able to change direction, like for you as a linebacker, especially like in drop coverage, I mean, was that something that you had to get used to a little bit? Was that kind of overwhelming to see guys kind of coming flying at you, or is it not as, whatever you would think?
Nah, it wasn't big for me because I'm in the middle and I can't move, so I didn't really have to deal with that. When I play a little bit of jack, I do have to deal with the high motion receiver to get a jam off. But really from linebacker, it was getting the jet calls, seeing the jet and making the calls quick. That was really my only. learning curve I had to go through.
Okay. Yeah, and again, do you like I threw a lot of statistics at you. I mean, are you aware at all of like where you rank statistically as far as like sacks go, tackle for losses, total tackles, things like that, as far as the rest of the league goes?
No, I don't. I kind of hear people talking uh around me, but I haven't did no research on purpose because I just
Yeah.
want to lock in and keep getting better. But I did notice they did miss a couple sacks though.
Okay. Yeah. So I will do listen, I will do my homework for you. I will kind of look at other teams throughout this like course of the week and look at like tackles and sacks, and I'll kind of see where you're at a little bit. Obviously, we'll add those two on. We'll put a +2 onto you from whatever it says there. Yeah, I'll do that for you. I kind of stat geek like that. So I'll take a look at some of that stuff and see what I can figure out for you a little bit. But I mean, you got to be up there. I mean, again, there's not too many teams that I've seen you guys play on TV or I've seen you guys play live that I feel like have a Calvin Bundage, right? Like I have a guy who, when there needs to be a sack made, there's a sack, or when there needs to be a tackle for loss, there's a tackle for a loss, or a QB pressure that causes a bad throw and interception. I mean, there's so much. Like I could have put a whole reel of you together of you just like being a step away from putting the quarterback on its back, like, and then you see incomplete pass, throw over the boards, 1 yard run, like it was just like things that don't go on the stat sheet that you could just add like 7 or 8 other plays onto whatever your statistics are to be like, yeah, Calvin caused this play to get blown up, or Calvin causes quarterback to have to throw the ball too early, an interception or a bad pass or whatever. Like there's so many of those things that show up for you. So I will definitely take a look at those stats because like you got to be up there. You really, really do. Now I'm going to ask you some questions a little bit that kind of like you, who you are a little bit, Calvin, who you are outside of football. Is there like a hobby or is there something you do outside of football that like that's yours that you just kind of relaxes you, or something that you're interested in that people just like don't know a lot about you?
uh I'm pretty vanilla, man. I did pick up content creating though.
Yeah, I'm noticing that. So I noticed that you like kind of do some of that stuff with a lot of practices or in games or even in the locker room and stuff like that. Talk about that a little bit because you are getting a lot of views. You talk about like eating and healthy eating and working out. I mean, and you get a lot of views, do a great job.
Man, I went on a 7-day fast, and after the 7-day fast, I just got a intuition, and it was like an epiphany, and it just said I need to create value to others, and I was like, should I write a book? I'm like, nah, that's not gonna get to the youth. I want to get to the youth like now, and so I'm like, I'm gonna post a video every day, and this something I could help the youth, like this build value to whoever's watching or like the youth, because I didn't feel like it was a lot of guys really telling these young football players the truth, or like getting them out of certain situations and just teach them how to finesse the game and be successful. I've been through so much. I feel like I can help somebody out. So that's what I do it for.
No, and it's great to hear. I mean, obviously, there's bigger ambitions. I mean, there's so many athletes out there that you see every year of winning, yes, whatever statistical things there are in the NFL or in college at the biggest levels. But there's a lot of people who do give back to their communities and do well and get involved with the youth and everything else. So that is a part of the game that in any sport you have so much power, like athletes have power, and just the ability to kind of give back or be able to talk some truth to people. You never know how you kind of affect somebody or maybe the decisions that they make for themselves down the road as well. Um, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite sports movie? Like if you wanted to watch a movie that would kind of get you a little juiced up, what movie is it?
Any given Sunday.
Yeah, any given Sunday, Steaming Willie Beeman.
Yeah, I got a white shark, Shark Leve. I got a white shark. He turned me
I
up.
mean, I that is a great. I mean, there are so many superstars in that movie, and just like, yeah, it gave you probably a taste of reality, a little bit of what the world kind of is like. And I actually have a Steamin' Willie Beeman t-shirt that I wear every so often. I only bring it out on certain occasions, but one of my favorites too. One of my favorites as well.
Ah, that's fire. I was just looking for a Shark Leve jersey on eBay.
I mean, just yeah, and then Jim Brown being your coach. I mean, talk about two of like the greatest NFL players ever. Like like one's the linebacker coach to the greatest line. Like it's just it's kind of wild. But yeah, that's a favorite movie of mine as well. What's this like? Obviously you have your pods on, you have your headphones on. Is there an artist that you listen to, or type of music genre, or a certain song that kind of gets you juiced up, or maybe gets you ready before a big moment, um, game day?
Eat. That's all I listen to, man.
Yeah.
Eat. That's my guy for sure.
Okay. Was that the song that was on in the locker room the other day and someone changed it and you were like, "Hey, like put it back on." Was that it? Yeah, okay, I remember that now.
Who authorized you to change the song?
How
That's what I had to tell
funny. How
him.
funny. And you're a pretty quiet dude in game day. So, like, are you the type of guy that are you like totally relaxed and like as soon as you guys kind of come out that tunnel, it's a different Calvin? I mean, you're not a guy who's like really chatting in the locker room, not like chest bumping or going crazy, but you can definitely tell that you are locking in to play. Is that a fair assessment to say of you?
Absolutely. The last not this last game we played, but the last game, that second half, I just went crazy and I was crying and I was really feeling it. And that was me locking in. And I know that feeling and I know what I have to do to get into that feeling. It's just a switch. I feel like that's the difference between great players and good players. It's that switch. And so for game day, I'm just trying to hold back tears. Like I'm ready to go throughout the week. I like to practice, but I'm so ready to play. And then once the game day come, yeah, I'm just holding back tears. So much emotion, so much I want to prove, and so I just like to wait till the game starts so I can let go. But yeah, that's me. I'm just trying to hold back the tears, hold back the excitement, calm myself, maybe turn on some Luther Vandross, and like I gotta chill, man, because I'm about to go nuts.
See, that's so amazing to hear because I see how calm you are in the locker room. Like you are just like quiet to yourself. You're usually doing some creative content stuff sometimes, and but you are locked, right? And then yeah, like that. I know exactly what game you're talking about in the second half because we probably got so many of your clips, but you read like bubble screens or jailbreak screens, like quick screens to the outside, like very well. Like the first guy just did not either just did probably don't want to block you, but you shed the block, obviously, made some great tackles, open field tackles. Like I said, your angles are great, but you just have a knack. Like, and it seems like collegiately you did too. Because I'm going to jump back into your college career in a few minutes because I do want to ask you something kind of funny. But you just seem to have a knack for making a big play when a big play needs to be made. And I've seen this now in multiple Pirate games. And some of these plays you make, Calvin, aren't just like big plays in a game, but you are doing something freakishly athletic to even make it possible for you the guys defensively to make a play. I mean, you literally hurdle the guy, and there's a bazillion different angles of you. But that ball, what a lot of people don't know, got thrown into the stands as a quarterback was just thrown away, and three people jumped in the stands to go get it, like went for it. But and then this last game, you guys needed a play, and you literally once again hurdle the running back who basically tried to block you low or cut you, and you hurdled him like he was a hurdle in a track meet. And the quarterback, like the quarterback, didn't like just couldn't plant this, like just couldn't do anything, and boom. But man, it's just I've seen that so many times out of you now this year. I mean, I've really only watched you this year and going back and watching stuff and collegiately of you, but is that like do you like just live for those moments, like to just be the guy who makes the play?
Absolutely. Before I go to bed, when I'm looking at the wall, I just daydream throughout the day. That's all I daydream. Big time moment to me. How I'm gonna make this play. What options do I have to get through this defender?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about different type of zones. I'm just thinking about all kind of stuff. I'm prepping myself to be in those positions. And honestly, the play I made the other game when I hurdled him, I
Mhm.
probably did that probably 1,000 times in my head. And so in that position, it was like I already did it before.
Yeah. it's like manifesting it, right? Like if you see it and you believe it and you think it, it's gonna happen. And like I live my life like that. Like I just like I say that to so many people and they laugh at me. I'm like, it's the truth because when that moment's there, you've thought about it so many times that you are just ready. You're not like, yes. So I totally hear you on that. Um,
And
go ahead, go
to,
ahead.
uh, the- um, and then I got the honor to watch guys like Lawrence Taylor. I did my research on him. He was the king of making big time plays, and when you needed them, and guys like Scooby Wright. Um, Scooby Wright, he was big for Arizona when a play needed to be made. He made a play, and I got to see it live. And he would always say, "Big time players make big time plays in big time games," and
Yeah.
I want to be the person to make the play every time.
Yeah. Well, it's great. And this is a great segue kind of into like a question that I wanted to go a little backwards with you about. And doing my homework with you on you, your sophomore year, and again, I'll read your numbers your sophomore year to the audience again. 2017, you had five and a half tackles for losses and 3 sacks. And I think this was your sophomore year that you had 2 sacks against Baker Mayfield. Is this the same year?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So just want to make sure I'm right here. So your sophomore year, okay. Um, I just gotta ask, did you guys just freaking hate him? Did you guys just hate Baker Mayfield and like I mean, I loved him, okay, watching him as a fan, but I am sure like the things with Kansas that happened and like the way he was, I am sure you guys wanted to kill him. And I don't know if you want to say that out loud, whatever, but I mean that in a funny way, dude. Like, was he just like unbearable for you guys?
absolutely. I wanted to take his head off. I wanted his head, but he carries a piece with me because I never seen a guy have that type of energy, and I couldn't do nothing but respect it. Like the way he talking during the game, the way he's playing, like that type of energy. I can't. I became a fan. I can't do nothing but respect it. I feel like he goes hard. He takes it to another level.
Yeah,
He,
I mean, yeah, it is it's something, because again, I look at that game and the reason I ask is because to me, like when I watch you play, dude, I feel like your motor is 125 miles an hour. I mean, you are like nonstop, like you run kickoffs, you're like everything, kick return, you like throwing your body around. Like you are when you are on the field from when the whistle or when the plays begins, you are 125 miles an hour until the play is over. And you are like that every single play. So conditioning and taking care of yourself has to do with that. But your coach was quoted in saying after that game, I believe you had 2 sacks against Baker Mayfield that game, and you had a lot of also quarterback hurries. I thought I wrote that down, but I don't see it in my stats here, so I must have just forgot to write it down. But also had a ton of quarterback, and as I read, maybe I'll find it. But it says, yeah, he had tremendous, really tremendous effort plays. A few plays where you went, wow, this kid is playing very hard. Um, in that game, you also had a fumble, scoop, and score that was overturned as well. So that was a game you just seemed so locked in for. And I loved your response when they asked you about that getting overturned. You said, no, I wasn't disappointed. I just want to be on the field as much as possible. So when they called the defense back out there, I was happy. I mean, dude, that's like, would you say that is like the game of your collegiate career? Is that a game that you just stands out to you the most?
absolutely.
Yeah.
What a lot of people don't realize is that I was going through position battles throughout freshman year and all the way to that point. And that point is when I won my spot officially. And that's when the fire was lit for sure. I got the opportunity. I ended up getting a lot of game time and I got to win that position battle. And that was late in the season and I starting after that. And so yeah, that's pretty that was definitely a milestone for me.
And how were your sacks on Mayfield?
Oh, that was nuts. I couldn't even if it was so loud, I felt like the field was vibrating.
Did you the good like good sacks, like hard sacks? Did you trip them up? I mean, how were they?
Uh I got him good one time. I slammed him, got a good sack. The other one was like a little trip up, but one
Yeah,
of
and
them,
it and then obviously the scoop and score. Walk me through that. What happened there?
uh, so yeah, so the running back caught like a bubble screen and he just dropped it like on the 15-yard line. He caught it and dropped it. And I just scooped and scored it. I was pushing out to the flat.
Gotcha. Okay, so it was like questionable whether it was like behind the line of scrimmage or he just had it and dropped it.
I think they said it wasn't a fumble,
Okay, okay,
but
makes
he
sense.
definitely
Okay.
dropped it and
But God,
it,
what the hell was that like, dude, for that like 4 or 5 minutes? Dude, you pick it up and score the like, was that just like mayhem?
it was insane.
Yeah.
It was
I
insane.
mean, I can't even imagine that because that's like a rush in itself. Like here you are having a big game, young guy in the program, winning that spot, like you said, like really putting yourself on the map that game of like, yeah, this is my spot now. Like, sorry guys. Like, and you get that and the energy. I mean, that must have been probably one of the more electric moments you've had in your football career for sure.
Absolutely. And that's when it was lit. It was college game day. Had Charles Woodson working out in our locker room. It was like, but that's when I had the idea that I wanted to be an electric defensive player. It's not too many guys that's electric defensively, and guys playing defense can be exciting. You know, can put asses in the seats. You know, like Tyron Matthew, Aaron Donald. Like that's when
Mhm.
I wanted to be those caliber guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, statistically, and what you're doing right now in arena is incredible. And what I find so interesting is yeah, I mean, the wave of football is obviously offense. Sells tickets and it's sexy and scoring points is what you want. But I'm starting to see it even with some of the best recruited defensive backs that are going, from college into the NFL. These defensive backs now are 6'1", 6'2", 6'3". I mean, there's a bazillion receivers that kind of fit that mark, but on the other end, you need guys that size to cover them that can catch and run and turn and everything else. So, I feel like in your position in the NFL and your position where you're playing now, and really in any organization, people who can get to the pass rusher, and it doesn't matter how it is, whether it's stunting, rushing off the edge, or blitzing, or I mean, guys who can get there and make plays. I mean, your ability, like I said before, to make plays when plays need to be made. That I mean, that's uncoachable. Like that is something that you stand out with over most people playing in the game. I mean, yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, but I say that again because I think that kind of all ties in with this. If you continue statistically that like what you're doing, I mean, would you say it's fair to say you consider yourself in the running for defensive player of the year in this league?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do want it desperately. You know, from a guy like you said, the honorable mention. I feel like I haven't got any accolades yet. I feel like I haven't won anything yet. And so I really want a championship. I really want to win. I think I have a great opportunity with this team to win a championship. And I'm still hungry because I don't have the accolades I want. I mean, I feel like I'm a great player, but the accolades is what you need to really solidify yourself. And that's what I've been missing my whole career. And so I got to keep being consistent, keep making these plays until so I can be who I want to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're well on your way. Like I said, obviously, I haven't seen the entire league play, but there's a few teams that guys have stood out. I mean, just on the other end of your a team on offense. I mean, I look at Jimmy Robinson, I go, man, there's no one as electric as this guy in the league. Like this guy is one of one offensively. But I look at you the same way defensively. And I mean, I just haven't seen a Calvin Bundage yet that I feel defensively changes a game like that. Like, and the Pirates have them both. The Pirates literally have both players like that. I mean, is that fair to say about Jimmy too?
Absolutely. Jimmy is an alien. I don't know how he does it. That's a great football player. I'm not gonna lie. That's a great football player right there.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like defensively, you're kind of the equivalent on the other side. You know, he makes plays for the offense when plays need to be made, whether that's running the ball, catching the ball, stretching for that first down, making that first guy miss on the tackle. Like he just does every time he touches the ball. I make sure I have like both cameras on because I was like, don't want to miss like what he like kickoffs. I'm like, teams just stop kicking to him in games. They just kick it, they'd
Yeah.
rather kick it in the stands, you know, and deal with where the ball goes. But like that's how game changing like he is for sure. Um Last thing that I kind of want to ask you a little bit, and again, this is for like a lot of my audience that listens out there. What's your advice to young athletes out there, whether it's those kids that are kind of making those decisions on where to go to school, or even those guys now that kind of finishing their collegiate careers and looking to take that next step? What would be your advice to all those athletes out there as far as who they should be and maybe how they should attack these aspects of their careers?
Um, it's just all about logical decision, no emotion into it. Choose the school that's gonna first of all, choose the school that wants you. Don't go nowhere that doesn't really want you. If you have a lot of options, go to the school that really wants you, because it's a big difference between coming in as a guy that a coach is building around you and coming in as a guy that's just a part of, a part of something. And so I want them to be mindful of that. Um, and make it straight logic. It has to make sense. Um, and really be hypersensitive to the relationships. Because I know kids are young and they're not thinking about, you know, the relationship part of it, but it is about who you know. I'm sorry to break it to you, but keep those relationships and stay light. You'll be amazing how far you'll get by just being light. It's not really all about what you can do, how fast you are, how good of a football player you are. You'll make it a lot farther being liked by, what I'm saying, the right people. So keep that in mind.
I mean, is that why you it's fair to say that you're a type of like keep your head down, work super hard, gain everyone's respect? I mean, is that kind of your mantra? I mean, you say that, but I mean, that's the vibe I get from you just from meeting you and covering you that day. Is that kind of fair to connect those two things?
Absolutely. I want to be solid through and through. I want to, get to bed on time and do everything I got to do to so I can be the leader in the morning and lead a group of men. And so I want to be solid. I want people to see me as somebody they can count on to lead people at practice or make the plays in the game. And so I want people to know my value, and I want to push that for sure.
Well, that's great. And I mean, obviously, anytime anyone asks me about you guys, you're the first person I mention as far as just like athletes out there that are just game changing. And, I'm really interested to see, how this season ends up with you guys. I think you're a pretty good team. I think you've lost really close games. It's not like there's any game that you guys got to hand it to you, so you're a team that's in it till the very last drive, whether what side of the ball that is. But more impressively, defensively, being a defensive guy, I mean, it starts with you three guys that I mentioned, as far as getting into the backfield and making plays. And obviously, there's different guys that have been in and out throughout. But you three are definitely what I feel like is kind of what holds that defense down. And obviously, at Matt Edelman there, who's all over the freaking field. I mean, talk about a guy who is, if there's two people in a play, most of the time it's you and him, especially the quick stuff, and it's just amazing to kind of see how fast you guys are on defense. But I was kind of blown away statistically how well you guys were comparably to the rest of the league. And people are close, but what I find so interesting is that I feel like your defense has just been getting better and playing better. So to kind of see those numbers attach along with it just kind of makes sense. But you guys know all this stuff. You guys probably know more than I do as far as all the numbers go. But it was an honor having you on here today. I really mean that. You've been really good to me coming down there, and I try to put out different content. Everyone has awesome cameras and catches a million different things. So I want to put more personality stuff out there, you guys, and show the real cool stuff that I love about the game, that behind the scenes, pre-game, mid-game, post-game, all that fun stuff that really kind of shows, the love that goes into the game a little bit.
I don't know. Thank you for having me. I love the content. I appreciate what you're doing, man. we really need guys like you for real, especially guys in my position. And so everything matters. You're not going unnoticed, man. Appreciate it for real.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, I love it, man. I love coming down there, and it's fun to me. It's fun to kind of catch what you guys are doing and the stuff that we're going to be doing in the stands. And yeah, Jawad seems to love it too. So if he's giving me the green light, then hey, I'm doing something right. So, but I appreciate you, and like we said, anything that I can do for you or any of your teammates, we are down to do for. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the hustle. This is kind of what we cover on this. Is that grind, that hustle, those stories that we want to get out there that feel good and positive. And I'm telling you, this is not the last that people are going to hear your name, man. With the work you put into it, the type of play you are, this sky's the limit for you. So I'll be interested to continue to follow you well beyond this year. So I'm excited.
Man,
So
appreciate
guys,
it.
we have we just closed out our busy week. We had 5 gigs in 4 days, and Mass Pirates was one of our last coverages. But we, like I said, honored to have Calvin here. And as I said, one of the best defensive players, if not the best defensive player in all of indoor football. So we have a busy week coming up. We have a few new guests. John will be jumping on the podcast, and again, Calvin, thank you so much. So from Beyond Podcast, I'm your host Anthony Petrellis. Till next time.